Awesome. Okay, 5 minutes here, guys. Talks that don't suck. Okay, so my story is going to start in Victoria, BC, and it's a town or a city that I've been to numerous times. I've crashed on so many couches out there. But one instance when I was out there, I was a young artist, and back in the late 90s, and I really wanted to go visit the Emily Carr House. And it was just happenstance at the time that Ted Harrison was giving an art talk then. And I immediately fell in love with his paintings and his depictions of the Yukon, and it totally inspired me to want to go up there and do some traveling. So I've been up there a couple times already, and I've kayaked the Yukon River, and I've hiked the Chilkoot Trail. And the thing that always blows my mind about traveling is just how serendipity and happenstance always seems to work. You're traveling, and you don't know where you're going to end up at the end of the day, and things just work out, you meet people, and everything just seems like it flows. And it's a really, really incredible feeling. And so I had a bit of a rough year last year, and I was trying to think about getting back into that space and what it would feel like again to feel like I was just going with the breeze and accepting whatever was going to happen at the end of that day. And so when I was thinking about that, I was trying to think of what's it like again, just to remember your senses and what you're going with. And it reminded me of a case study when I was at Dalhousie at Architecture School, and we were studying the Halifax School of the Blind. And it was actually a really interesting time for social reform for the blind because it was one of the first initiatives where they were no longer ostracized and marginalized from the community. And so this wonderful school was actually built for them. And it had these big, bright windows and, taking into consideration what they would need. But then also it had these really large hallways. And so the hallways were really large and really long and really high. And so out of experience, these students actually learned how to navigate the hallways just by listening to echoes. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. And it's a really unique thing that we can all just learn to listen to our senses and follow it from there. So I currently work in advertising, and part of my day is coming up with creative ideas because I'm in the creative department. And at times my brain feels like a spring that I just have to hammer out idea and idea and idea. And there's definitely times when it starts to feel a bit daunting of oh, where's the next idea going to come from? But you just sort of have to start trusting your heart and that something is going to rise from it. And I think that's the same thing to say about anybody who loves what they do. It's just starting to listen to what's inside of you. So if anybody here is from Guelph, and I'm sure a lot of us are, you'd be familiar with a restaurant that opened in downtown, and I was in charge of the branding for it. It's called Ox. And I thought that I would show some process drawings here. For what you can see, it definitely went through a huge transition from the start to the end product. But I like to think of the creative process almost like a funnel, whereby you start, and as the process goes along, ideas start to taper, and the designs start to come together and take shape, and take shape, and take shape. And in the end, my guiding principle in all this is try to stay in line with the brand character that we're thinking about. We're thinking about the clientele, we're thinking about the menu. And so here you can see a lot of the way that things turned out. There's coasters and how my brand got adapted to menus. And I think it's also important to point out that those initial logos were really important to go through. I think it's part of the creative process is going through and not saving an idea for a rainy day. You have to hammer it out to know that it's a bad idea. You really have to keep exploring everything. And so I think in context of even more about the creative process, I have a friend he's writing a book, and my advice to him was, don't belabor what you're doing. You really have to just go for it and hammer it out and not really worry about the small stuff because the step is long from over right now. And I think it goes to say you really have to love what you do, and you really have to write the book that you want to read. And so for me, it's creating my personal art. It's creating the mugs I'm going to drink from, the beer glasses that I'm going to have, the floor that I want to walk on. And to me, all those things are really, really important to me. And I'm definitely not saying that putting my artwork on a mug is a creative idea, because it's definitely not. And even Picasso touched on that when he said that bad artists copy and great artists steal. And I take that to mean surrounding yourself with really great ideas and really great inspiration. And this that you're going to see right now, this is not inspiration. In fact, I absolutely hate QR codes. And I think one of the main reasons I hate them is that people are using them wrong. They're putting them on bridge banners, and people are going to try to drive by and hit the QR code. It doesn't work. So I think that's an example of stealing an idea, not actually making it new and exciting. And so there's a purple screen right there, and I could see some of you trying to flinch for your QR code to snag it. So I just had it going to purple.com, so that's why that's up there right now. But if we're going back to creativity and thinking about ideas and process, is there such thing as a new or unique idea? And I would tend to agree that, no, there probably isn't. I think a lot of it is our own unique ways of seeing things, our own individualism that makes something new again. And so if we're going to talk about creativity in the end, and so what does it really mean? You know, what is following your dreams? What is following creativity? And I think it's about leaving everything open to chance and following down the rivers and streams and accepting where they take you. Thank you.